Hello, RoyJeton's here. You're all probably wondering why I have a gorilla mask on my head and gorilla gloves on my hands. Well, plot twist, they're not on my hands and head. They are my hands and head. I am a humanoid gorilla. I have the brain of a human and the body of a gorilla.
In all seriousness, I'm wearing this because I thought it would be fun to make a silly personality for the channel, and to keep my real face a mystery, at least for now. Like how the YouTuber Hello Greedo always hides his face with a stormtrooper helmet. And since gorillas are one of my favorite animals, and I have a gorilla suit, I thought I might as well dress up like one. Also, for those of you who don't know who Hello Greedo is, he's a YouTuber all about Star Wars, from skits to news to reviews to gaming, stuff like that. If any of y'all are interested in those sorts of things, go ahead and subscribe to him. I highly recommend him. Speaking of Star Wars, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think of the book Star Wars Republic Commando Book 2 000 after reading it. I'm not going to talk about the first Republic Commando book, Hard Contact, first because it's been long enough since I read that I probably wouldn't be able to say enough about it for a video. So I'm just going to talk about this one. I may talk about the first book in a video eventually, maybe if I end up making an audiobook for the first book. But for now I'm just here to talk about the second book, 000. Let me know in the comments below, by the way, if you guys want me to make an audiobook for the first book. I looked around YouTube and I didn't find any audiobook for the first book, or the other books for that matter. And then that'll give me an opportunity to reread the first book and then review it. Also, just to let you guys know, I'd like to review more books in the future. I have a huge list of books to read after all, as you can see behind me. So if that's also something you guys would like to see more of, let me know about that also in the comments section below. Another thing some of you may have been wondering is when my Lord of the Rings Home Alone crossover YouTube poop's going to be made. And the answer is, it will be made. Eventually. I just felt that it would be nice to make a different video after making such a long Teen Titans YouTube poop. Last memo before I jump into this review is, for those of you who know me, are familiar with how I originally talked about books I read, and who end up seeing this video, I think I actually intend to replace my way of having a thumbs up / thumbs down picture with a post on Facebook to talking about a book and giving it a thumbs up / thumbs down in videos like this. Don't worry, I'll still share the videos to Facebook. Anyways, sorry if those explanations took a long time. I don't think there will end up being spoilers in this video, but I'll let you know. Since the cover of the book's usually the first thing that a reader sees, I think I want to talk about that first. I really do like this book cover, from the Commando soldier designs to the Commando armor colors to the text colors. The red text's a nice contrast to the blue text from the first book's cover. I like how the Commando armor colors make each clone look distinct. The first book's cover looks good too, but I still do wish that I could somehow know which clone is which. That's not the first book or its cover's fault, obviously, that's just how it is. So yeah, the cover looks good. The only complaint I may have for the second book's cover is that the text mostly covers up one of the clones, and I wish I could see all of them clearly at once, but that's just a minor complaint. Now to talk about the book itself. I liked it overall. It was a fun, interesting, action-packed, science fiction, espionage war novel with likable characters. Each character stands out, in a good way, with their own distinct personalities, temperaments, attitudes, and the like. I'm sure Dave Filoni and others at Lucasfilm took some notes from this when writing clone characters and clone interaction scenes for the Clone Wars, because the ways both Omega Squad and Delta Squad interact with each other in scenes seem very similar to how clones, particularly clones in the same squad, interact with each other in the 2008 to 2014 Clone Wars animated TV series. The relationship between clones in this book and clones in the Clone Wars is so familial, especially within each individual squad. Both clone squads in this book, along with some non-clone members such as Cal Scarada, Etain Tur Mukan, and Barden Jusik, you can correct me in the comment section below if I'm pronouncing any of those names wrong. All of characters such as these really do feel like a family when interacting with each other. And it's great to see them work together to eliminate threats against the Republic. They just seem to work like a well-oiled machine. A machine not without affectionate parts. Many of the main characters either already do love and respect each other, or grow to love and respect each other. I think my favorite non-clone character is Sergeant Cal Scarada, because he's one of the few people in the Republic Army during the Clone Wars that actually acknowledges that forcing clones to fight in a war that has nothing to do with them is evil and actually wishes he could do something about it. He's also one of the only and first non-clone characters to genuinely and deeply care about clones as people, and not just as a friend, but as a father. Since he failed to show his real sons much love and affection, he sort of tries to make up for that by caring for these clones. I think that's a really interesting and admirable character, and I'd be willing to bet that many other people agree with me. I think my favorite clone character is Phi, because he actually kind of reminds me of myself in some ways. He likes to make jokes, tries to stay optimistic, and fairly self-reflective, if I remember correctly. He also makes attempts to keep the others' spirits up. So yeah, I think these qualities make him really awesome. I thought the villain or antagonist of this book was pretty forgettable. Then again, I took several breaks from reading this book throughout the years, so in all honesty, my memory of a lot of aspects of this book are kinda hazy, and you might think that I don't remember enough details to review 000, but rest assured, I do. Anyways, I still think the antagonist is pretty forgettable. But I don't really fault the book too much, because the antagonist isn't really meant to be much of a focus in this book. Or the first book, anyways. The focus is on these likable protagonists surviving and making sense of the Clone Wars mission by mission. The antagonists and missions they've had to deal with are mainly there to move the plot along, provide thrills, suspense, intrigue, etc., and also tends to make them question the purpose and morality of the Clone Wars. Especially the purpose and morality of enslaving human clones to fight in a war that directly has nothing to do with them. I especially find questions on that topic fascinating and thought-provoking. So that's the gist of what I think about the characters. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the plot. Now keep in mind that it's actually been a little while now since I read 000, and when I did, I would take breaks from reading it, because I'm a lazy/busy hybrid. So my memory of the details of this book's plot is a little hazy. Nevertheless, I thought the plot was alright. Entertaining and interesting enough, especially with this book's assortment of characters. I think if you put any of these characters in almost any situation, you'd be interested in what they do. But that still doesn't necessarily invest you in the plot itself as much as you could be. I felt a little bit this way towards 000's plot, particularly because of the antagonist, and a little bit because of how much a threat the bad guys posed to Cal Scarada's team. The antagonist was pretty forgettable, unfortunately. You don't get to know him that much because he barely has any screen time, or page time rather. I understand that the author probably wanted to devote more time to our heroes instead, but I still wish it was more balanced between the heroes and the villain. I also didn't really see him as too much of a threat because Cal Scarada's squad was almost always on top of things. I never really felt too much that Cal's team was in real danger by this terrorist villain. Granted, Cal's team ends up doing a lot of questioning, data collection, and recon in this book, so not as much combat takes place. But even when they are in situations where the antagonist could expose and attack them, Cal's team seems to almost always take care of the situation well. Now, don't get me wrong, I still liked the plot and the threat in the plot well enough. At the very least, the concept of Coruscant being in danger of being blown up by separatist terrorists is pretty cool. I just didn't think the stakes felt as high in this book as they did in the first book, except maybe with the character Phi. I was afraid that they were going to kill him off in this book because the book seemed to be foreshadowing his death with the death of a regular clone trooper named Phi, and with the inner monologues from Phi. I don't consider it a cheap fake-out, though, because the book explores the injustice of forcibly putting human clones in dangerous situations, and Phi's foreshadowed death is one of those examples in the book that explores this idea. But anyways, I think the stakes are a little higher in the first book because the threat was something specifically designed to kill clones, the nanovirus, whereas in the second book, the threat is more indiscriminate. Kel's team is still put in danger many times in 000. It just doesn't feel as threatening as the first book because it's not as personal. I also think the stakes are a little higher in the first book because I think the antagonist was more memorable than 000's. If I remember correctly, Book 1's villain was a Mandalorian mercenary named Hoken. I think that was his last name anyways. And I felt like he raised the stakes of the plot because he was a Mandalorian warrior who valued honor, and that was the kind of cultured person that Omega Squad looked up to. Nevertheless, even though Book 1 has strengths in its antagonist and threat, Book 2 has strengths in its thought-provoking themes and engaging character dynamics. So, despite a few areas that could have been better, I think Star Wars Republic Commando 000 is an engaging, fun, fascinating Star Wars novel that leaves me interested to read the next book. I think I should also mention that I also liked the surprise short story at the end of the book, starring Omega Squad and Cal Skirata. That was a fun, interesting, and intense short story that takes place before the events of 000, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it also tells of the first time when Cal Skirata meets the clone character Atten in Omega Squad, provided my memory's not failing me, which is entirely possible, but I think that's what happened. So yeah, that was a nice moment. I liked the situation in the short story. It was a classic terrorist hostage situation with tense moments, which is a perfect situation for an elite squad of clone troopers like Omega Squad to solve. And boy, do they seem to solve it like always. The situation in the story reminded me a little bit of the movie Die Hard, actually. As many of you know, Die Hard, the first movie, also has a situation where a group of terrorists hold a bunch of civilians hostage, and Omega Squad is like 4 John McClanes. But anyways, I also liked the antagonist in this short story, mainly because you get to see him do ruthless things. Not only do you see him threaten and oppress hostages, but you also see him murder an unarmed Jedi, a Jedi that was trying to reach out to the terrorists diplomatically. Granted, the Jedi had placed a bug beneath his shirt so Omega Squad and the CSF could listen in, but still, it's an extreme move. I also liked the action that takes place in the short story. It's fast-paced and has a sense of urgency to it. So yeah, if you want to see more of Omega Squad partaking in day-to-day missions, I recommend the short story after the end of the main 000 story. So I think that's about all I have to say in this review. Go read Star Wars Republic Commando 000. It's an intriguing, thought-provoking, fun Star Wars novel. I still think I like the first book, Hard Contact, a little bit better, but you make your own judgment. And I think it's still pretty good. I also recommend reading the short story at the end of the 000 book. It's a fun side story. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about 000. I plan to read the third book, True Colors, fairly soon. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to continue to do book reviews, or let me know if there's a certain book you want me to review, or let me know if you want me to begin making audiobooks for books that don't have their own audiobooks yet. Alright, I hope to catch you in my next video, and have a great day.
This is RoyJeton's signing off.
Alright, God bless. Bye.